Hi guys, welcome back. So in this video, let's see how we can demote a domain controller using a normal way. So there are two ways for demoting a domain controller. One is a normal way where you are able to log into that domain controller that you want to demote. So we'll be proceeding with the normal way on that. The second way is the forced way, which we will use when we are not able to log into the domain controller that we want to demote. So let's see how we can demote a domain controller using normal way. So I have three domain controllers with me. One is DDC01, the second one is DDC03, and the third one is GDC01. So all three are up and I want to take away this DDC03 domain controller. So I'm currently logged in on DDC03. So before I proceed demoting DDC03, I'll firstly verify if there is any sort of dependency on DDC03. And various dependencies could be maybe this particular domain controller is hosting any network printer, maybe a certain share folder that is currently used. Some of the clients have hard coded this particular domain controller to use. So when we take away this domain controllers, those clients will be impacted. One more possibility could be, is this domain controller holding any sort of FISMO roles? So it's very important that we find out all those dependencies and we take away all those dependencies from this particular domain controller before we demote this DC. Now, one thing that I'll show you before I proceed demoting this DC is I'll use this command, which is net dom query FISMO. So you can use this command to see which all DCs are holding which all FISMO roles. So here I can see my schema master and the domain naming master. Both my forest wide roles are being kept on DDC03. So it's very important that I move these two roles to some other DCs and then proceed demoting this domain controller. So I move these two FISMO roles on some other domain controller and then start demoting this domain controller. So you can do it using graphical user interface or you can use PowerShell as well. I'll use PowerShell because it's quite easy. So I'll type the commandlet, which is move -ad directory server operation master role. I'll specify the domain controller on which I want to move these two roles. So I'll be moving it to DDC01 and then I'll be typing hyphen operation master role and I'll specify the name of the FISMO roles that I want to move. So I wanted to move these two FISMO roles, which is schema master and domain naming master. I'll hit enter. I'll press A and now these two roles will be moved to DDC01. Same way, you can check other dependencies as well in your environment. And once you are sure that this particular domain controller doesn't have any such dependency, you can start demoting it. So now for this particular video, my focus is on doing a demotion using a normal way. So I'll go on server manager on DDC03. I'll go on manage. I'll click on remove roles and features. I'll click on next. I'll click on next. Here I'll unselect Active Directory Domain Services. So if we talk about a normal demotion of a domain controller, it is done in two steps. The first step would be I'll be going on Server Manager and I'll be unchecking this Active Directory Domain Services role. What it will do is at first step, it will demote this domain controller and it will then automatically restart this domain controller. Once it restarted, you'll log in back again and then at the second step you will remove this Active Directory Domain Services role. So these are the two steps that are done. At first step it will demote the domain controller and at the second step it will remove this Active Directory Domain Services role as well. And again you'll take a restart of the system and after restart it will still be part of the domain and you'll be able to log in using your domain credentials, but it will be demoted. So I'll proceed step one, which is unchecking this option, remove features, which all features are associated with Active Directory Domain Services. So I'll click on remove features. Now here it shows you validation results, that too in an error state. And the reason for this is you are trying to remove Active Directory Domain Services role, But before you can do that, the first thing that you need to do is you need to demote this domain controller. So I know this warning, and what I'll do, I'll click on this option which is demote this domain controller. So here it will look for the credentials. I'm currently logged in using administrator ID, and this administrator ID is a part of domain admins group. So for permissions related, these rights are sufficient to demote a domain controller. So I'm okay with that. It shows force removal of this domain controller. So this option you will use when this particular server is not able to contact other domain controllers. In that case, you will be checking this option. But for now, I have network connectivity from this particular domain controller to other working domain controllers. So I'm not going to select this option. In any way, I've shown you how you can forcefully remove the domain controller. So you can follow that video. I'll put that link in the description as well. I'll click on next. I'll click on proceed with removal. It's showing that this domain controller is currently hosting the DNS role and the global catalog. So I'm fine with that. I'll check mark on proceed with removal option. I'll click on next. Here I need to provide password. I'll click on next and I'll click on demote. And now it has started demoting this domain controller. So I'll wait for some time, let it complete. It will automatically take a reboot as well. So DDC03 has been restarted and I logged in back again. Now I'll again go on manage, remove roles and features, click next, next, and now I'll be able to remove this Active Directory domain services because at first step I've already demoted the domain controller. So now it won't be any problem. So I'll unselect this, remove features. And before I do that, let me show you one more thing. I'll go on DDC01. I'll open up Active Directory users and computers. I'll go on domain controllers. So now you will see TDC01 and GDC01. You won't see TDC03 simply because it has been demoted in step 1. You'll find DDC03 somewhere under computer container because it's still joined to the domain. It is a domain computer now, but it is not a domain controller. So I'll go back on DDC03 and now I'll proceed removing this role as well. So I've unselected Active Directory domain services. I'll click on next, next, remove. So I'll wait for it to complete. So it has removed Active Directory domain services and it says a restart is pending. So I'll manually initiate a restart of this DDC03 machine now. So DDC03 has been restarted again, and this covers step 2, which is removing Active Directory domain services role. I'll now go to step 3, which is verifying if there is any sort of metadata for DDC03 exist or not. Generally, if you're normally demoting a domain controller, so that won't have any sort of metadata for that domain controller, but still I'll verify. So I'll go back on one of my working domain controller. So I'll use DDC01. On this, I'll open up command prompt. I'll start with ntds util command. Next, I'll type metadata cleanup, hit enter. Then I'll type connections. Then I'll type connect to server, any of the domain controller which is functioning right now. So I'm on to DDC01, so I'll be connecting to it. Then I'll type quit to come out of server connections. Then I'll type select operations target. Then I'll list the domains by typing list domains, hit enter. So it found only one domain, so I'll be selecting this domain, which is select domain and the value. So here the value is 0. So I'll select this value and it has selected this domain, which is mari.com. So I'm fine with this. Now I'll list the sites by using command list space sites. Hit enter. So there are total 3 sites, and DDC03 was part of Delhi site. So I'll select the Delhi site by using the command select site, and the value is 1. Hit enter. So it has selected site as Delhi. So I'm fine with this. Then I need to search for the servers which are there in this site, and this shows which all servers metadata is present. So I'll type list servers in site, and here you see it found only one server. That means there is no metadata for DDC03 simply because the one server that it found is DDC01. So I'm fine with this. I'll not do anything else. It just verifying whether I had any sort of metadata for the domain controller that I demoted. It's not there, so that's fine. So this covers my step 3. The next step, I'll be going on server manager, and I'll verify whether I have a server object for DDC03 under sites and services. So I'll open up Active Directory sites and services. I'll expand my Delhi site because DDC03 was part of Delhi site. I'll expand the server container, and here I'll see DDC03 server object. So I'll right click on this, delete this object, click on yes. So this covers my step 4, which is deleting the server object from Active Directory sites and services. Please note, while deleting the server object, don't delete the server container because it is containing DDC01 as well. So just delete the server object under servers container. Now the last thing that I always do when I'm doing demotion is I'll go on DNS management, and I'll verify if there is any zone that is still referring the demoted DC as a name server. So for that, I'll right click on my zone, properties. I'll click on name servers, and here I don't see any entry for DDC03. So this is fine. Similarly, I have one more zone, example.net. Let me verify if there is anything for DDC03. That's not there. That's fine. So this complete step 5 as well, and this is how you will be able to do a normal demotion of a domain controller. That's all for this video. Thank you so much.